We are starting to sort out the 2025 college football season, 3 games in, and we are looking forward to conference play. We have dipped our toes in just about all the Power Four in regards to seeing who may come out in December. We appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. Those comments and questions are welcome. Leave those in the chat. The Super Chat's available, of course, and you can get us to a second hour of Overtime with Matt Zemek here from Trojans Wire. Matt, of course, at USC at the Voice of College Football, and our chief and editor at vocfb.com. Matt, how you doing?
Busy times. Lots going on. Coaching carousel spinning. And, it seemed as though the season really began to take on a lot of extra layers of complexity this weekend as we begin to settle in a little bit more into conference play, not universally, of course, but some more conference matchups and kind of how teams separate from each other. That process is beginning. The season's gaining texture as we go along here at the Voice of College Football.
All right, folks, again, we welcome your comments and questions. I will leave the link to give Matt and myself a call. I want to leave this wide open, at least to start, before we start to narrow it down from there. So what are your main takeaways from what we saw over the weekend on the field?
I think in terms of the balance of power in college football and also the SEC, like things that we thought before the season, not panning out that way. Arch Manning being, he is not even average. He is bad. He's below average right now. And so, I would favor Oklahoma over Texas. And that's something I certainly wasn't ready to do before the season began. Vanderbilt hammers South Carolina. And I know Lenora Sellers got hurt, but, South Carolina's offense really was not humming along very efficiently before the Sellers injury. I mean, Vanderbilt was just better. And so how the SEC shakes out, going to be fascinating. LSU is winning, but Garrett Nussmeier and that offense don't look great. Like, that's why Brian Kelly got grilled in spite of a win. And, of course, DJ Lagway in Florida looks so bad, and Billy Napier's on the hot seat, barely scraping by Florida at home at night. Like, we shouldn't really throw a parade in Baton Rouge or anything. So, I know why the journalists were critical of Brian Kelly. And in Kelly's defense, I want an SEC game. What are you doing snapping at me? I get Brian Kelly's side as well. But it shows how jumbled and uncertain the SEC is. And the SEC was a jumble last year for the most part. I mean, Texas was perhaps a little bit better, but, Georgia beat Texas twice. So, Texas didn't really dramatically separate itself from the competition. The SEC is once again a jumble. Does beating up on Wisconsin mean that Alabama's back? I don't think so. Luke Fickell is very much on the hot seat. Wisconsin not very robust or competitive the way we used to expect from the Badgers. And so, Vanderbilt's going to play Alabama and LSU, and I don't know what to make of those games. So SEC's a jumble, and the Big Ten, the quarterbacks in the Big Ten, we're waiting to see which one's going to step up. I'm not making any verdicts on these Big Ten quarterbacks. It's too early. But no one is really setting things on fire. You could maybe carve out a slight exception for Dante Moore, but Oklahoma State is horrible. Northwestern is horrible. All right, got to see better competition for Dante Moore. I mean, he looks the part. Very encouraging signs so far for Oregon, but let's see him step up a few ladders in competition. And he's not going to get that step up against Oregon State. Trent Bray in big trouble. Beavers look horrible. So Big Ten quarterbacks and really national quarterbacks. We talked about Nussmeier, talked about Lagway, talked about Arch Manning. We're waiting for the high-profile quarterbacks across the country to step up. That's been a big theme this season. And then the two coach firings, UCLA, Virginia Tech, they both had to act now, right? You can't lose to New Mexico by 25 at home and keep your job. You can't get trampled at home by Old Dominion. and keep your job at Virginia Tech. So these decisions had to be made. Going to be really interesting to see how they all shake out. And Virginia Tech and UCLA both hamstrung in the NIL era, both getting outgunned. Like the realities of those two athletic departments, not competing with the resources other programs are dealing with. So it's going to be fascinating to see, can those two schools convince quality coaches, hey, we have our infrastructure in order, or at least we can step up our commitment. Only then can they land a really good coach. Because certainly from the UCLA side, which I know more about than Virginia Tech, since I did follow the Pac-12. I write about USC. I also do follow UCLA very closely. No sane, logical coach is going to just take that job without assurances. Oh, you're going to replace Martin Jarmond. You're going to get a better athletic director. You're going to improve your NIL game. You're going to make infrastructural improvements. I'm not going to consider taking your job until UCLA, you take those steps. So people want to know who's on the hot board, who are the likely candidates. We all have our names, but UCLA needs to make infrastructural and administrative improvements before any high quality coach can be considered.
So your basic storylines right there, I can apply also to another football team that had a walkover over the weekend, but they get a difficult one in Lincoln. And that's, of course, Nebraska looking mid-tier at best, scraping by. You used that term in week 1 against Cincinnati, playing a couple pushovers the next 2 weeks. But, of course, Nebraska stepping into Big Ten play against the Michigan Wolverines at home. And we've got Andy Ketterman stopping by from Corn Nation. Andy, how you doing?
I'm doing good, and you did it again. Ketterson, not Ketterman.
Oh, Ketterson. I apologize for that, Andy.
Nah,
I am
heard
so
way
sorry.
worse than
I'm
that
so
over the
sorry.
years. It's fine.
Absolutely. I need to get that right. But that means we need to have you on more often, because in the 3 years in between your appearances, I forget. So thanks for being here, Andy.
Absolutely, and you're not wrong one bit. We do not move out of the mid-tier, getting a vote or two tier until we can actually beat a ranked team, which we haven't done for however many years. Now, we've had 2 walkovers in a row. We Akron 68-0, and then Houston Christian, my God, 59-7. And the thing is, though, it's like, I actually did a poll last week with our fans who, we've got the guns pointed at our heads, just waiting, to get kicked in the nuts again as soon as we play a good team. But here's one thing about those 2 walkovers. We finally walked over the walkovers. So does it mean, hey, you're top 10? Absolutely not. But we haven't put any of these teams away in the first half in like 10 plus years. I think it was like when Bo was coaching and we put 70 on Idaho or Idaho State or something like that. So 68-0 Akron, 723 yards. Does that matter? I'm like, a little bit, because that's the 8th highest total yards in Nebraska history. And it's far from the only walk-on we've played. So it means a little something to go out and take care of a team like that, and then go do it again the next week. Now we find out with Michigan that is it the Michigan team that won the national title? No, I don't think they're quite back at that level of talent. And this year, definitely they won't know our plays unless they know how to chip into the helmet mics. So it's going to be a good matchup. Their defense is still stout as hell, and their leading tackler is a former Husker, Ernest Hausman from Columbus, Nebraska, who I actually got to see play in high school when they played Creighton Prep, an Omaha team, lost 42-7, but anything that went his way, he was destroying. He left after his freshman year at Nebraska and is killing it for Michigan, obviously. I think he's going into 2 years of being one of their best defenders. The guy we're worried about isn't Underwood. It's Justice Haynes, because we have had trouble stopping the run as strongly as we would like in each of our first 3 games. And this is the guy averaging like 130, 40 yards rushing a game. whereas Underwood's completing 54% of his passes and starting fights with Haynes on the sideline, during the game against Oklahoma. We understand the fact that as much as we want our true freshman quarterback to come in and make our offense a lead as a true freshman, well, we went through this last year with Dylan Raiola. Was he good? Yes. Was he better than we'd had a quarterback in several years? Yes. Was our offense still mostly trash? Yeah. But now this year, it's like you got Dana Holgerson. You've got, I think he's ranked like number 5 in the country in like completion percentage. He's doing it with way more completions than anyone else in the top like 20 or 30. And so, and again, 2 walkovers, but he's doing what you expect that guy to do. So I think we might have a really good game coming up this week, and one where if we lose, it's not necessarily because we shoot ourselves in the leg and hand it to Michigan.
Well, I got to say that the statement that you made, we get a lot of reverb for some reason, but anyway, the statement that you made about the score of the Akron game, the Houston Christian game, is something that I was commenting about on a Saturday night when people called about the Nebraska game. And I said, I didn't watch the game. I'm not watching Nebraska play those kind of opponents. I'm focused on other games. But yeah, it's been in the past during this run of losing seasons, 34-10, 31-13, kind of sloppy kind of wins against MAC level opponents. Those going to not just, you see the top 10 teams in the nation laying waste to people, 65 and 70 to nothing, and whatever we saw in 52-9 or whatever the final score was, 59-7 against Houston Christian. So let me ask you this, Andy, because I did not look at the stats from Saturday night, but the previous weekend after 2 games, I noticed that pretty much Emmett Johnson got the ball and nobody else. Now, are they going to wear him out during Big Ten play, or is there going to be a change-up?
No, that's after Cincinnati. That was a fair point because we were told we've got a deep running back room and don't need to hit the portal. And then against Cincinnati, he carried 25 times, caught 7 passes, got 32 touches, and the top 2 backups got 1 carry each. Now against Akron, he was out like with the starters halfway through the third, and all of a sudden all 3 of these guys got a lot of carries in the second game. And then Quentin Ives, who was the backup going into practice and then tweaked his hammy right up in first practice. So he's not fully there quite yet, game 1. Then game 2, he's got a 20-yard touchdown. And then against Houston Christian, they leave him in, and he ends up like carrying 13 times for like 80-something yards and being our leading rusher. So, no, the last 2 weeks after that first game, all 3 of the backups are getting a lot of looks, and they're even saying we don't have a 2, 3, and 4. We just have a rotation. They moved our true freshman, Isaiah Mosey, I guess, back to playing a lot of slot. He was a receiver that they moved to running back because he's like 6'2", 210. But now they wanted him in the slot last week, and he caught 3 passes for like 30 or 40 yards. Our other guy, Mekhi Nelson, didn't really play at all, and no one really asked Matt Rule about that this morning. Why? Was it an injury? Was he in trouble? Whatever. He didn't really, I think, get a snap in, or he definitely didn't get a touch in. But Quentin Ives actually got more carries than Emmett Johnson. So after that first week, no, they laid Emmett back. They said, we do not want Emmett, being a 25 to 30 touch a game guy. But we'll see now. Do they stick with these guys and keep bringing them in now that we're hitting the Big Ten schedule? That's a good question.
When you sized up this Michigan team that we're going to see on Saturday night, obviously they've only played one totally legitimate opponent, and they were manhandled at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Now, of course, we know that Michigan was the Big Ten champion the last time, eventually the Big Ten champion the last time they visited Lincoln. Nebraska was on its way to what it was, under Scott Frost just about every year. And that was a heck of a ball game that went down to the wire, 32-29, I believe, was the final score. And so now we've got 2 teams that are certainly not as there's not as much of a gap as there was on that night. So with some home cooking and the crowd revved up for a big one. Maybe Nebraska's got a real shot to do something.
And that's the thing is I feel like just because we've been us the last 10 years, Michigan, they're still like 23rd, 22nd, 23rd, something like that in the rankings. And we're getting votes, but unranked. And we actually like lost votes each week after Tennessee with the 2 blowouts. And I'm like, well, why is everybody else moving up in the blowouts and not us? It's like, oh, because I get it. We're us, and we've got to prove something before those games mean anything. But like I said, just the fact that we're now blowing out the teams we should blow out, and Michigan blew out Central Michigan last week, so they blew out their MAC opponent. I just feel like this is a very evenly matched game, and the bookies do too. I believe it started out as like, at least when I looked on FanDuel on Sunday night or Monday or this morning, it was like -1.5. I'm just seeing Michigan by a -1.5 or -2.5, something like that. So I mean, I even feel they're like, this isn't the same old Nebraska Michigan. That's because we, like you said, before that Scott Frost tight game, the 32-29 that they were up 13-0 at the half and we almost pulled it out. There had been a couple of big blowouts before that. And I was kind of like, is every time we're both kind of looking matched up, we're just going to get our asses kicked off the field? Because like the last time was Matt Rule's first year. And, we can talk about maybe why it was 45-7 or whatever it was after they were winning games against the MAC 31-9. Whatever. That era is over. But I feel like you've got 2 teams with questions who are doing a lot of things right. But what I'm seeing is Michigan is reminding me of us last year, where they came off the national title, and the offense last year of theirs was awful, just awful. I mean, they couldn't even begin to throw the ball, and guess what? Same as us the year before, when Heinrich Harburg was our starting quarterback for most of the year, and Jeff Sims was turning it over like crazy, and that sort of thing. So we got a freshman in, and we're like, this will turn it all around. It didn't. We still struggled to score points, but we played, well, let's not count Indiana, but the week after we lost 56-7 to Indiana, or whatever it was, we took it down to the wire with Ohio State, the eventual national champion, and Dylan Raiola was showing promise. But, yeah, he wasn't going to come in that year and just turn it all around in one step. And I feel like Michigan now was kind of us. They're kind of us this year, last year, going, hey, we got Underwood. Underwood's going to come in, and we're going to wreck things. And they go out and put 13 up on Oklahoma, and he's fighting on the sideline with teammates publicly. And I'm just going, gosh, I hate to wish anything bad on anyone, but can you guys keep that kind of disruption going for another 2 weeks? I don't know. We'll see. But I actually like our offense better than ours. Now on defense, we've got a stellar secondary, a loaded secondary. Where we've got all these seniors. I think 3 of them are we got 6 captains. 3 of them are defensive backs, and the one who's kind of slowly, he's a sophomore who got his first look in the Pinstripe Bowl. Donovan Jones from here in Omaha North High, starts off as Andrew Marshall's backup at cornerback. And they're going, why is he a backup? And both John Butler, the DC, and Addison Williams, the defensive backs coach, are going, no, he's pretty much a starter because we can play him in any of the 5 of the 3-3-5. And then they're doing it. And then after a week, they're like, yeah, and he gets a black shirt because he's out there. Then Hartzog got hurt, and they don't miss a thing because he can play corner. He's fast enough to play corner, but he's like 6'1", 200, and will jump up. And we saw this in the Pinstripe Bowl, just jumping up and murdering the running back. If he, hey, it's a run, boom. He's not one of those guys who's, 185 pounds. I don't really want to get involved in that. So he can play all the positions. And so that's our defensive backfield. The problem is we've got a little bit of an undersized defensive line. And we never gave up a ton of yards, but we give up these little burst runs occasionally where it looks like we're just getting muscled around. So everybody's worried about Justice Haynes. And even today at the press conference, Matt Rule said, we've definitely got to work on our run stopping more. And so that's our worry, is that if they just Underwood hand it off, be the Michigan quarterback of Jim Harbaugh's dreams, and just hand it off a ton, that might be the way to beating us. We'll see. Like I said, giving up the occasional pop to a team you're beating by 60, for me, isn't a reason to sound the alarm, but maybe it's a little reason to worry, and Michigan can sure watch tape as easy as anyone else.
Andy, you mentioned Hartzog. So obviously he saved the game against Cincinnati and tracked the ball in the end zone, something that's difficult for most defensive backs to do. So how long is he expected to be out?
Sounded like today, that was one of the first things Matt Rule got asked this morning, and about Hartzog and linebacker Javen Wright, who both sat out the game, and he was pretty much, that was more preventive than anything. They're expected to be full go this weekend. They were fine, and their workouts on, because the team comes back and does like a cool down workout on Sunday. And he was like, no, they're fine. They'll be back. There were two guys that got taken out of the game and held out. Our only defensive lineman over 300, Elijah Judy, just took a helmet to the thigh. He's like, no, he'll be full go. And then one of our other defensive linemen, Gabe Moore and Matt Rule said he was fighting with him on the sideline. Please put me back in. No, dude, worry about Michigan. Let these guys play. We're fine. So they're going into Michigan with no serious injuries. Hartzog and Wright will be back. Yeah, Hartzog's something else. A buddy of mine told me about Hartzog, watching him get out lead, because he's like, they list him at 5'9". I honestly think it's more like 5'7" or 8. And he was getting out leaped against Southern Cal last year. And I just get a text going, man, if Malcolm Hartzog was 6'1", he'd be a 2-time All-American. And just the way you saw him play that ball in the end zone against Cincinnati, it's like, once it was up there, I was up at the press box at Arrowhead, and we're watching it dial in there, and I'm just like, I hope he intercepts it, because he's the one with I'd see the receiver coming over, but he's the one with the beat on it. And then he just jumped up, muscled in, got it. And one of the biggest things for that, you've heard about our, hey, another one-score loss for Nebraska, was for people going, but it was Cincinnati, we should have killed them. Well, we're watching them, and they destroyed bad teams the next 2 weeks, so maybe they're not that bad. But even if they are, we beat a power 4-5 opponent in our opening game. Hadn't done that in like 10 plus years. And we won a one-score game, not by letting them, poop it down their leg at us, but went up and actually made a play to win that game. Where most of the time we lose those games, it's because foot meet gun, and Iowa have a 31-yard field goal, because you got the ball back in our territory with 35 seconds left, and we're all just going to go home and stab ourselves with a fork until we fall asleep. So so there were positives, and even winning 20-17 against Cincinnati. But yeah, Malcolm Hartzog made a play, went and made a big play, and with as many one-score games as we've had and lost, that's the one thing that had been missing. It's like, even when we don't make a play, we just kind of get backed up and they kick a field goal. Thank you, Malcolm Hartzog, and yes, he'll be back.
Andy Ketterman on the line. Corn Nation is your destination for Nebraska football. And check out Andy's work with everyone else there at SB Nation, John Johnston and the crew there. Andy, we appreciate you stopping by.
Appreciate you having me. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks a lot, Andy.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Let's keep it rolling at the Voice of College Football. I do apologize for the audio there. And again, we've got all sorts of screwy things going on with our situation with, my goodness, what is going on? Yeah, these layouts are not working. StreamYard. That one got switched to the bottom. Very interesting. Okay, let's reset here. This is Voice of College Football. We're here taking your calls. We'll be here all night if you want us here all night. That's entirely up to you. And we'll let you know what you need to do to make that happen. But I guarantee 1 hour at least out of me every night, Monday through Saturday, and of course post-game Thursday, Friday, Saturday, depending on the importance and entertainment value of the game. I got to find out what happened to our buddy Matt Zemek. Hang on just a second. Let me grab my phone about a couple minutes into So anyway, maybe Matt will be back. Maybe he won't. I think I can hold down the fort. So we will see. All right, back to business. Week 3 is in the books. Week 4 up ahead. I have not really looked at the schedule. I know that Indiana, Illinois get together, and there's some key games in the SEC as well. And we're starting to hit a lot of bye weeks as well. So Michigan, Nebraska again. Looking forward to that one. Speaking of which, and again, we would love to be here all night with you. You can make that happen. Thank you so much for the contributions. One coming in from David. David, thank you so much for your generosity. Mark, I watched Steve Dace's 2 podcasts about Charlie Kirk. Tears. You ain't kidding, brother. My goodness. I finally got to catch up with the Wednesday. Must have been the Wednesday, probably the Thursday, because the tragedy was on a Wednesday. So I caught Steve's Thursday podcast just late last night and shot Steve a text to say, this is amazing. This is powerful. It's like 3:00 in the morning. And I am trying to take in as much as possible. So I did catch that one and a whole lot of others, but thank you so much for the contribution there, David. Yes, had more phone calls today on that topic. All right. Again, we're on to week 4. We'll take your comments and questions. vocfb.com for merch and to catch articles from Matt and the staff here at the Voice of College Football. So again, that's vocfb.com. And before we take our first call, let you know there, I got to say, while my record's still sterling and I expect it to stay sterling for the entire season, check out those picks. Are you getting my picks? 61-15 straight up, 37-21 against the spread, 37-21. What's that, about 65%? Don't know where you're going to find those numbers elsewhere. So get my picks. 13-7 against the spread on Saturday. And I really only kicked myself in the teeth one time because I was saying all week, how is Wisconsin going to score any points against Alabama? How are they going to score? So why did I take Wisconsin in 3 touchdowns? I don't know. Immediately when that game started and I saw the sets of athletes on the field, I thought, Wisconsin has no chance in this game. They're going to get annihilated. And I know 38-14 doesn't sound that bad, but it was worse than that. 28-0 at one point. And yes, Wisconsin's offense could not score. So that was the one I wish I would have taken back. And it would have been a real nifty 14-6. But 13-7 will take our under the radar selection 2 for 3. So yeah, you can get my picks, VOCFB bets. You can either do that here on YouTube or go over to Patreon. So become a channel member, and there you go. All right, let's hit the calls. We got Rob on the line. Rob, what's going on?
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
I'm good.
So I'm still sick. I wanted to call in and on Saturday night and call, but I was just too sick. Just recovering now a little bit, but not just sick physically, but sick everything else with my team.
Yeah,
as you can well imagine. So I've seen a lot of Notre Dame fans complaining about Chris Ash, saying that he is the reason why Notre Dame is struggling, and that's not entirely wrong. I think his move to more zone and less man has derailed something that was working very well last year. Notre Dame had a very good defense last year, but unfortunately, what these people aren't realizing is that we also lost a lot of veteran leadership from Jack Kaiser and especially Xavier Watts. Those guys were like field leaders on the team. They could call the defense. They've seen everything. They played for a long time, and they were, very good athletes. So it's not just Chris Ash. And I hate to say, but Christian Gray has really regressed. He's getting burned all the time. He's making bonehead plays. He's getting beat deep. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever seen a player go from one year to a next, like, because I mean, yeah, he made some mistakes last year too, but he also made up for it at times with amazing plays. He was generally pretty solid all year last year. A couple of games where he really struggled, but so far this year, Christian Gray has just looked awful. In fact, that touchdown against Texas A&M, where I think it was Craver that ran it back for that, like he got tackled by like 3 people and he still kept going. The reason why he was able to keep going is Christian Gray basically tackled his own defender and basically allowed the guy to like stay on his feet. And it was just awful play from him all year long. And congrats to Texas A&M and Miami. I think those are 2 very good teams. I don't know how far they're going to go, if they're going to get to I believe Miami's a playoff team. I'm not sure about Texas A&M. I just think our defense was trash. I mean, I've seen a lot of Notre Dame fans saying, "Oh, we're going to go on a run. We're going to win 10 straight games. It'll be all right. Just be positive." And I'm like, have you seen our defense? You're not going to win. I'm questioning if we're going to beat Purdue at this point. Now, I say that slightly tongue in cheek, but it's rough, man. I don't know that I've ever felt as because I believe it's such a weird feeling that I have, because I believe the team is very good and talented, but my eyes are telling me that they are just struggling big time under this new leadership. So
yeah, so far be it for me to tell Chris Ash what defense he should be running, because obviously he's in much better position than I am, and his track record is pretty stout, pretty solid. It's been a bit sketchy here and there, but his performance as a DC across the country has been pretty strong. Now, I will say that when you said that they switched from man-to-man as a man-to-man team last year to zone, the first name that popped into my head was Christian Gray, because you talk about a classic one-on-one cover corner mentality of, give me one guy and I'll take my chances and I'll make plays. I may get burned, but I'll forget it, and I'll keep playing, and I will make some big plays on my account. He's the first guy that came to mind.
yeah. I mean, and I think Christian Gray still has potential to like get it together, but I think out of all the athletes on the team that have been hit the hardest moving from man to zone is definitely him. He's just, like I said, regressed tremendously. I mean, Drake Bowen is still doing some good things out there. Obviously, Leonard Moore is still playing really well. Like, there's some guys that are doing really well so far this year, and I'm still really impressed with CJ Carr. I think, although have you heard? So apparently, now I'm not saying that Texas A&M knew this or if they were able to decipher this during the game, but there's a report out there saying that supposedly Texas A&M was able to read the signs for the play calls based on what CJ Carr's foot positioning was during the game. And apparently, if you watch the film back, it reads out to be true. Like, he would stand at like a split, his feet would be like offset. I think it was for like passing plays and straight forward for running plays or something like that. So he was almost like giving Texas A&M the plays. Now, I don't know that helped Texas A&M. I'm not one of these like major conspiracy theorists, but that would be my only thing, is like, hey, that's something you guys can fix going forward at least. But like I said, I'm really happy with CJ Carr so far as a rookie quarterback coming in, playing 2 massive games back to back. He hasn't really, he's done probably better than I thought he would, to be honest.
Yeah, they certainly tore up Texas A&M's defense, and people are, I just posted a comment from Bilal about Notre Dame being trash. They look like a fringe top 10 team in the country to me. I know that the defense had a awful night on Saturday, and I don't readily think of Texas A&M as having one of the more explosive and consistent offenses in the country. We shall see. So I'm not saying everything's right with Notre Dame, but they lost on a walk-off field goal to a top 5 team on the road, and they lost basically because their holder botched a PAT snap. That's pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why Tyler Buckner is still on the team. I don't hate the kid, but like, why? Why is he still? He left to go to Alabama. That should have been the end of it right there. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. I don't hate the guy. I'm not like one of these people that want him to get like doxxed or anything, but just ridiculous stuff. Anyway, so the other thing is, Notre Dame like they're not trash, but I'm okay with them falling out of the top 20. Like I think they should have like drop them out of the top 25 at this point. Like make them earn something. You can't lose your first 2 games. I get it; they're to 2 good teams, but still, like drop them out of the top 25. Just this season's basically over. The only way I could even see them getting into the playoffs is if USC really comes alive and starts stomping people. Which, based on their performance against Purdue, I don't know that that's going to happen. And then they would need like Arkansas which Arkansas, that was a heck of a game. Did you watch that game at all, Mark? Arkansas and Ole Miss?
I did not.
Oh man, the ending of that game was insane. Like Arkansas was marching back, and then one of the receivers fumbled, and Ole Miss ran it back for the clincher. But that was getting pretty tight there at the end. But I mean, if Arkansas basically wins the rest of their games up until the point there's a couple of ways Notre Dame could maybe sneak into the playoffs, but at this point, I'm not even hoping for that. I just want them to. At this point, I just want them to go on a streak, show us some potential and maybe salvage the season somehow. But yeah, disastrous start to the season. But hey, still, it's college football. There's still a lot of good football to be played by other teams and my team. So still interested in it. I just wanted to call and complain because, it's hard starting 0-2, Mark.
Absolutely. But we knew that that was a possibility. So thanks for calling, Rob.
Yep, no problem. Later.
All right, let's keep it rolling here. vocfb.com/shop, or you just see it there at the top of the screen. I need to be a much, much better promoter of what we do here. No doubt about that. So hang on just a second. We have all sorts of things going wrong here. There we go. So bingo, that's what you do. Go to vocfb.com. And see there at the top, shop. Shop vocfb.com. Click that. There you go. You've got the main channel, VOCFB, merch, hats, and shirts. And why we don't have the other products, I have no idea. But let's say you're an Alabama fan. You've got a couple different types of hats. You got the tees and the polos, and you've got the tumblers and the mugs and the koozies. There you go. And we've got about 25 teams covered. So vocfb.com, shop. All right. We've got about 20 minutes with all of you. We got David Greenshield stopping by. What's going on, David?
Yes, to the man that gives college football its voice, the great Mark Rogers. Hi, and how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Excellent. Hey, Mark, have you done away with the Sunday show?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
You mean the Sunday morning show?
The Sunday morning show. I miss our Sunday morning call-ins and get-togethers, my friend. It was quite enjoyable.
I know, but once I dedicated myself to 6 days a week, I thought, okay, that's enough.
I hear you. Yeah, I was gonna say. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Keep going.
No, I was just going to say, I did notice that you were doing that. I know you got the late show. I kind of like the Sunday worked a little bit better for me, but I'm glad that you're doing the 10 o'clock thing, though, Mark. I mean, it shows dedication on your part, which is amazing.
Yes, I've lacked the dedication for years and years and years. That's no problem of mine.
Well, hey, you were talking about a stream the other day for like 13 hours or something, Mark. So, you know what I mean? Weren't you talking about doing that sometime soon?
Well, yeah,
live stream?
I will do a stream for 13 hours anytime you guys want me to. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that when you did for the
the conditions, they're here all the time. I will sit here for as long as everyone wants me to.
I thought that when you did for the college football. The one for the college football playoff a couple years ago was awesome, by the way. That was really well done.
For the college football playoff? Oh,
yeah,
where I did the play-by-play for the games? Where we did the watch parties?
The watch party, yeah, that was great.
Yes, okay. All right. Yeah, people like watch parties. I can't say that I really understand it myself, but we used to do watch parties here, but I've kind of
Yeah.
put those to the side.
Load up the double stuffed Oreos and bring them back, Mark. That's what I'm saying. So.
Hmm.
I wanted to talk a little bit about some quarterback play, overall quarterback play in college football this year, and kind of your thoughts on it so far. It's interesting to see like the quarterbacks that a lot of people. I know you don't do anymore. Top 10 position groups like you used to, but I digress. But a lot of people put out who are going to be the better quarterbacks this year in
Yep.
college football, and a lot of people talked about Klubnik. A lot of people talked about Nussmeier. A lot of people talked about Adams' favorite quarterback of all time, Drew Aller. By the way, if Penn State beats Oregon and Aller plays great, Adams got to buy a Drew Aller jersey. Bet right there. Adam has to buy a Drew Aller jersey if Penn State beats Oregon and he plays a great game. By the way,
Adam, are you out there?
shout
You've got
out.
a challenge on
There
your
you go.
hands.
But isn't it amazing though how just a lot of the quarterbacks that were projected to look good this year have just been a little bit disappointing. I don't know if you have some thoughts on that. And I know it's early. But I don't know what your early thoughts on some of these quarterbacks are.
Well, I'll put it this way. I don't know that the quarterback play is any worse or better. I think it's probably overall the same. It's just coming from different guys. We expected Drew Aller, Cade Klubnik, Garrett Nussmeier in particular to be the best quarterbacks in the nation, or at least 3 of the top 5 or so. And none of those 3 are playing exceptionally well. Certainly Klubnik's not. Aller's not even against the 3 teams that he's played.
Right. Yeah.
If Adam chimes in tonight, I remember Adam sending in a comment last week that if Drew Aller throws an interception against Villanova, then he's pretty much had it. Like, that shouldn't happen, but he did. And obviously Arch Manning, who was the #1 Heisman favorite according to Vegas, has not been good. Bryce Underwood was not good against Oklahoma, and I'm not going to pick on a true freshman, but he did earn the starting quarterback position at Michigan. So who is playing well? Yeah, out of the top guys, Ty Simpson's first game at Alabama wasn't good against Florida State. I think Carson Beck's played well.
Yes.
And
Mateer at Oklahoma's looked good.
Well, yeah.
John Mateer's looked good. How about Reed at Texas A&M? I know I looked at his completion percentage and it was awful. I didn't realize he went 17 of 37, but he still ended up with 360 yards and a couple of touchdowns against Notre Dame. I know that the Notre Dame fans are, and I heard the last caller talk about being down on their defense this year. I was surprised that A&M dropped 41 on them, but are we buying him, to put up some numbers in the SEC this year?
Well, I got to think maybe that's we have one indication thus far against what's supposed to be a good defense, and I don't know that Marcel Reed's going to put up huge numbers in the passing game. But to your quarterback narrative, Lenoris Sellers injured. And so
I saw that.
There we have another Heisman favorite who's, for a different reason, not come through. But I've seen Jalen Daniels play well. I've seen Bo Perbula play well. I've seen Luke Altmaier play well.
Yes.
Those are guys that come to mind for me.
How about Julian Saint, Mark? Can we give a little bit of love to Julian Saint? I know the competition. You can go there. But
how did he look Saturday night?
I would give him about a B in that game overall. He missed some throws, and the 2 interceptions weren't entirely on him.
Yeah, I did not see one play of the game on Saturday. I thought, I'm not messing around with Peacock, and no, thank you. So I just didn't even attempt to watch the game. But I will have to check it out on YouTube, certainly before Wednesday, so I can speak to that. But go
ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say, I think that it's going to be interesting to see once we get into conference play. I do wonder if Moore is an upgrade over Dylan Gabriel from last year at Oregon. That's going to be interesting. I mean, we're going to find out everything we need to know in a couple of weeks when they go to State College, obviously.
You're really expecting Dante Moore to possibly be an upgrade from Dylan Gabriel?
I was not as, and I'm a Browns fan, and I'm not that huge of a Dylan Gabriel guy. By the way, he could be our starting quarterback very soon here.
Dylan Gabriel got invited to New York.
Right. Well, I didn't think that necessarily last year was a great year for college quarterbacks. Maybe that's why a defensive back / wide receiver won the Heisman last year.
Yes, and rightfully so.
Yeah, because outside of Cam Ward, who was probably the best statistical quarterback last year,
Yes.
How great was the quarterback play last year, Mark?
Who was great last year? Garrett Nussmeier was good. He wasn't great. Yeah, Cam Ward was far beyond everybody else. I can't think of a year in which there was a quarterback who was that much better than everybody else playing the position.
Right. I mean, there's some. I just think that really the last couple years, the quarterback play in college has been a little bit shaky compared to 2, 3, 4 years ago. Even, now we still have a lot of season left. I get that. I just kind of early impressions, and we have seen a few big games early so far, so we can kind of judge. Hey, Mark, what do you think of the ACC right now, especially with Clemson looking as poorly as they've looked so far early? Is this an up in the air conference, or could we even buy the fact that Miami might be back?
So it's not a good conference, I'll tell you that.
Right.
But nobody expected it to be. Yeah, if one team is going to take off and be head shoulders above everyone else, it would be Miami.
Right.
So they've got 2 quality wins, and what they did to South Florida was mighty impressive. I think we were probably, we've probably seen South Florida's best football. Meaning, I don't know that 4 scores over Boise State and upsetting Florida on the road is really what South Florida is all about, top to bottom. But to beat them by 37 points is pretty impressive. So now that we know that Clemson is maybe not a good football team, let alone a great football team. Yeah, Georgia Tech is a threat, and we have yet to see Louisville play anyone of significance. We saw Duke collapse in the second half now twice, or collapsed against Illinois, and then they just flat out came out of the gate slow against Tulane. So Pitt lost. So where are you going with this? Just that it's a wide open ACC. If anyone's going to challenge that maybe wasn't expected to challenge, I would think the one team that has shown us anything is Georgia Tech.
I agree. I'm warming up to Haynes King, or as a friend of mine called him, Tech Tebow. I think he's played pretty well. I will say this. A lot of people were talking about Clemson earlier in the year and saying that they may have had the combination of 2 things you need to win, which is quarterback play and D line. I think has that combination is Miami. If we're Bayer and Beck, they have a good D line. Those are the 2 elements you really need. That's why I think South Carolina we might have overrated South Carolina this year. We were talking about this in the Ohio State Texas preview. I didn't realize, South Carolina lost some key defensive personnel off last year's team.
Sure.
So, that's why Miami could be the favorite right now. I'm not saying overwhelming favorite in the ACC, and I hate to say Miami's back because it's one of my least liked fan bases out there. But nevertheless, they do have the 2 elements needed to make a run.
Yeah, I think Miami has addressed its issues. I think they've clearly addressed their issues. Last season they had great quarterback, slot receiver who was one of the best in the nation. Their outside receivers were okay. They've upgraded their outside receivers. they had one of the best offensive lines in the country, and those guys have just basically come back
But
and improved and just are better.
they had a Big 12 defense last year. It seemed like, Mark. You know
Sure.
what I mean? You
Yeah,
know.
I was getting there, but
Yeah. Sorry.
yeah, they're improved. Sure.
Yeah, that's why I think maybe that they could be more legit this year. That was the case that I was making, and not to say that that's a lot in a conference. That's what it is. But I did want to get to one other thing with you. So you have not watched, as far as the Big Ten goes, kind of looking at the hierarchy of the Big Ten in kind of the middle of the pack of the Big Ten right now, compared to where it was last year. Do you think that the conference overall is as good as it was a year ago?
No, it doesn't
Okay.
appear to be.
Okay.
So we've got 10 games in against the other conferences, and we got a 5-5 record.
Yeah.
Now that sounds bad, but that's not far removed from what they did last year. Basically, Ohio State saved the conference reputation, and maybe nobody wants to hear that.
Well,
but
I don't mind hearing that, Mark. You can tell me that all. I've been saying that for a long period of time, but
yes, Ohio State has saved this conference for 25 years. But
thank you.
Specifically and yeah, I will argue anyone there, just the level. Oh my goodness, yeah. Just go through Tressel's era and on through Urban Meyer and to right now, and save a few little bursts from our friends up north and a few little bursts from Michigan State, kind of. But yeah, in terms of taking on the SEC and taking on whoever's the best, yeah, it's been Ohio State, and the rest of the Big Ten is just not held up its end of the bargain. Anyway, right now, yeah, the Big Ten did not have a banner season. For all the Big Ten fans that are out there that are waving flags after last season saying we're the best conference. Yeah, if that's the case, which I don't believe it to be the case, but if it is the best conference in college football, it's because of one team.
Right.
The rest of the league did very little.
So
and now the rest of the league is doing what has the rest of the league done to date? Illinois went down to Duke and beat a team that lost to Tulane the next week. And I've got nothing else for you. Michigan State beat a Boston College team that went to Stanford and lost the next week. Those are wins. Those are Power 4 wins, but that's about it.
Okay.
Outside of Ohio State beating the number 1 team in the country.
Okay. What game is bigger and tells us more this week? This is what I wanted to get to. And the 2 games I'm probably going to talk about. Team up north at Nebraska or Indiana, Illinois?
Ooh, that's a great question.
See? I was saving it for you, Mark. I was saving a good one for you, my friend.
If I could only watch 2 games this week without looking at the rest of them, those are the 2 that I want to see. I believe. I'm sure somebody's playing in the SEC. I've yet to look at the schedule. I think Indiana, Illinois is more important, and it's more interesting to me because I still don't buy Nebraska.
Okay.
They're going to have to show me something on Saturday. I am pretty sure, I'm not sold 100% that Indiana and Illinois are quality teams, but I'm much more confident that Indiana and Illinois are quality teams than Nebraska. Like if a quality team, we're going to say a quality team is one of the top 25 teams in the nation. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Generally an 8-4 team, 9-3 with a weak schedule, top 25 team. I am much higher on Michigan, regardless of what we saw against Oklahoma, that Michigan, Illinois, and Indiana, I have 75, 80% certainty on those 3. And my Nebraska certainty is at 15 or 20%.
So you picked Nebraska to go 8-4 in your record predictions at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Okay. we've seen the team up north go to Oklahoma. We saw the offensive game plan with Underwood there. Side-to-side passes are a thing that don't exactly work too well. Do they come out with a more inspired offensive game plan this week? Or do we see Mr. Dates go postal after the game again, complaining about how bad their offensive game plan was? Which was, I was a little surprised they weren't a little bit more wide open in that game too, especially playing an Oklahoma team where I thought Oklahoma would score some points in that game.
Well, I think that Sharon Moore must have just kind of gained something from the last two games of last year, that hoping that and thinking that he's got a dominant defense, and if he stays within one score and Michigan doesn't screw it up, that he's going to allow the other team to screw it up. I don't know that he played scared or coached scared. That's what he's accused of. Maybe he did. I saw it more as he's coaching the 2023 Michigan Wolverines. He's coaching that defense.
Mm-hmm.
And he's thinking that he's just waiting. He's already seen Oklahoma make a couple mistakes that gave his team red zone opportunities. He was waiting for another one. So Michigan could play like that in Nebraska on Saturday night and win. It's not like they have to open it up to win the game.
True.
They could play like that and win 17-16.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I'm not as confident as Raiola throwing the ball against their defense as I was Matera throwing the ball against their defense. Although I do think their defense, after the loss of the two defensive tackles and Will Johnson out the door, I still think their secondary is a little bit vulnerable, and I don't necessarily see a difference maker on the D line like they've had in the past, Mark. So just some observations from their defense, the last in watching them play. I don't know if that's too big of a stretch in both of those areas.
Our buddy Ralph says that Michigan is going to have its starting offensive line back for the first time this season.
Okay. That bodes well. Maybe we'll see if they can run the football with Haynes. That'd be interesting. All right. Just a quick thought on Indiana and Illinois before I let you go. To me, the interesting thing about that game, would you say would be the Altmaier-Mendoza matchup, Mark, or is there something else in that game that you find particularly interesting?
Yeah, I don't know that that's the most important thing, but I think it's the most interesting because I do think that Altmaier played better against Duke than I think of Luke Altmaier looking.
Yeah.
And Mendoza is an impressive player.
Yeah.
So that's going to be Mendoza's first game, obviously, in a Big Ten game and against a Big Ten defense. So, yeah, it could be. I don't think it's going to be a shootout per se, but I think that those quarterbacks are going to look good and there's going to be plenty of points. I would expect that game's going to be in the low 30s.
Oh, really? Interesting. See, I'm thinking Illinois' defense which is usually good under Burt, although Mendoza's a good quarterback. So maybe you're right. Maybe that could be like at least a 31-28 kind of game.
Yeah.
Okay. I could see that. All right. Well, I think it's going to be an interesting week of college football. I'm looking forward to it. You're going to be back for the rest of this week?
Heck yeah. I will be here.
All right. Well, last thought, R.I.P. Charlie Kirk. Condolences to his family.
Thank you, sir.
And as always, you do a great show, Mark. You take care of yourself, my friend.
Thank you, David. Good to see you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
David Greenshield's been calling us for a long time. Always delivers a great call. Good to see David, as always. And I've got to catch up on the Buckeyes game from Saturday. I did not mess around with Peacock. There's LSU in Florida. Who else was playing on Saturday night? There were Notre Dame and Texas A&M. There were like 4 good games on Saturday night. And I thought, you know what? I'm not even going to attempt to try to get Peacock for this one football game. And let's check out the schedule coming up for week 4. Let's do that. Thursday, forget it. And once again, you guys can't see this. Why do we have this extra step now? There we go. Okay. Thursday night, forget it. Friday night, Iowa at Rutgers. That game has 20-17 written all over it. Okay, but I'm there for it. I'm watching. You can't pull me away from Iowa and Rutgers on Friday night on Fox. I'll be there for that one. And for the first half hour before that, sure, I'll see if Oklahoma State is better than a poor G5 team, because Oklahoma State is a disaster. They're terrible. I was trying to tell our buddy Cody Stovall from Locked On Cowboys that before they played Oregon. I said, Oklahoma State only beat Tennessee Martin by 20 points. That's an indictment right there. Okay, Texas Tech and Utah on Saturday. That's the Fox noon game. Texas Tech and Utah. Yep, that's in a conference of a myriad of key games. That's just one of many. But that will start to sort out the conference championship race. Arkansas at Memphis. Arkansas better look out and not be looking ahead. They're coming off a difficult loss against Ole Miss. Played really hard, played really well, put up 35 points in Oxford. And we're driving down the field for the possible game-winning touchdown, got into the red zone and fumbled with about a minute left. They had plenty of time to operate the offense, and Ole Miss was not stopping them, but they fumbled to end the game, and they go to Memphis. And Memphis, for many people, were the darlings of the G5 bid to the playoff in the offseason. So that is not a gimme for the Hogs. Maryland, Wisconsin. If Wisconsin doesn't win this game against Maryland, this is from an odds standpoint, this is their best chance to win a Big Ten game. Most likely they're at home. They're against Maryland. Maybe they've got Purdue or Northwestern. I should look at that. All right, Syracuse at Clemson. Clemson obviously has to get off the deck. They've already lost an ACC game, but do not count out Clemson in the ACC race. Until further notice, count them out of being a significant factor in the playoff. You know, we can still count Clemson into being what they were in 2024, the best team in the ACC, or an ACC championship contender that's really not that good. Virginia Tech, over the course of the final half against Vandy and then into the first half against Old Dominion, was outscored 65-0. And that's why Brent Pry does not have a job. Virginia Tech football has really hit hard times. They made a bad hire with Justin Fuente. Their recruiting has been awful. They have not brought in a good recruiting class in forever. And Brent Pry, yeah, Virginia Tech football. I cut a video that basically just gave my thoughts on Virginia Tech football and where it stands right now. You know, all the window dressing of Virginia Tech football. We did a look at TV ratings and at attendance over the past 5 years in the ACC. That was an off-season video. And Virginia Tech still draws the third best attendance in the conference. So they still have a rabid fan base. It's still Lane Stadium, Sandman. So until kickoff, it still feels like Virginia Tech football. But, man, they're terrible. The roster's bad. They are one of the 5 or 6 worst teams in the Power 5. SMU, TCU. I'm interested in this game. So at noon, there are no great games at noon, but I guess I'm going to go with Texas Tech, Utah, and Arkansas and Memphis, or maybe SMU and TCU. Did you see the final score with North Texas and Washington State? What has happened to that program? They have taken their demotion to the group of 5 seriously, meaning Washington State. Tennessee's hosting UAB. Of course, Tennessee, I did not like how Josh Heupel handled the fourth quarter against Georgia. Oregon hosting Oregon State. Florida State against my alma mater. Auburn, Oklahoma. So that will be the 3:30 game. Oh, no. Michigan, Nebraska is at 3:30 as well. Okay, so that's an easy decision for me in terms of 2 games. Michigan, Nebraska, and the Auburn, Oklahoma game at 3:30. And then in prime time, any other games stand out here? West Virginia, Kansas. Big win for Rich Rod on Saturday. Prime time, Missouri still undefeated, taking on South Carolina at home. Air Force and Boise State's always a big one in the Mountain West. Florida and Miami. So I will opt to watch that game. And, oh, there you go. Indiana and Illinois. Yeah, that's a good pair of games for me. See the 2 Florida teams playing and the 2 Big Ten teams that start with the letter I, to see who could be for real and who could seriously contend in the Big Ten. And then the rest of the night, I like this USC Michigan State game. Let's see if Jonathan Smith is going to. Michigan State under Jonathan Smith still waiting for a big win. Still waiting for a big win. 3-0. Sloppy game against Youngstown State. Barely beat BC. This would be a big win for Michigan State to go on the road and beat USC. All right, folks. Oh, I am sorry. I did not read this super chat coming in from Adam. Adam, thank you so much for the contribution. Appreciate that, sir. Mark, which loss is worse? Notre Dame losing 41-40 to Texas A&M or Tennessee losing 44-41 to Georgia? Between Notre Dame and Tennessee, who do you think is better? Also, Drew Aller is officially the fallen angel. Is there some kind of a reference there that I'm not getting? Fallen angel, Drew Aller. I don't know. That's a pretty interesting comparison. I did think that Notre Dame was the better team if you would have asked me that question before the season. But now that we've seen the Notre Dame defense struggle, in week 1 at Miami, Notre Dame's defense struggled along the defensive front, getting pushed around by the Miami offensive line. That's where they generally struggled. They got pushed around. They got manhandled physically. Against Texas A&M, it was more got beaten in coverage, missed tackles, difficulty filling run gaps and keeping Marcel Reed under control. It was a lot of things against Texas A&M from my memory. I still think that Notre Dame's a better team than Tennessee, although Tennessee, if Georgia's as good as we think they are, and we're going to play that, I feel myself starting to play that game again. Oh, Tennessee could have beaten Georgia, barely lost to Georgia. We're up 38-30 in the fourth quarter. They could have beaten Georgia, and Georgia's got to be one of the best teams in the country. Well, is Georgia really one of the best teams in the country? Until further notice, I have to believe that Ohio State and Georgia are 2 of the best teams in the country. They are 2 of the top 5. I am not certain that anybody else is. Like, I am not near 100% certain. The next team I would put in that category would be Texas. And based on my perception coming into the season, I would put Penn State there, but Penn State hasn't played anyone. Now, Texas at least played in Columbus And Ohio State played Texas, and now Georgia's played Tennessee. But Georgia's not a perfect football team. For sure, they gave up 41 points. Kirby Smart was not happy with his defense, as he let us know coming off the field. Doc believes that Miami's one of the top 5 teams in America. And based on what they've done thus far, sure, they are. And that reminds me, I've got to put together a top 25 that actually makes sense. I've never let that drag until Monday night. That's terrible. Should have been done Sunday afternoon at the latest. But Miami's arguably the number 1 team in the country based on resume, beating South Florida by 5 touchdowns and Notre Dame. I don't know that anyone else has 2 wins to that degree. Jeffrey says the last time Michigan State played at the Coliseum, they had a wide receiver named Kirk Gibson. That was the last time that Michigan State played at the Coliseum. Okay. I know that the year that Michigan State beat USC in the Rose Bowl, 1987, the 88 Rose Bowl, 1987 season, they played USC early in the season in East Lansing. So I would have thought that that would have been a home and home. But Kirk Gibson, obviously, we're talking 1978, I believe, was his final season at Michigan State. Kirk Gibson, I always thought, for being touted as, and he was, I'm not saying that this was a myth, being touted as just one of the best athletes on the planet. And I'm not talking about his Dodger years when he could barely run. I'm talking about even watching him in Detroit in 1984 when he was being compared to Mickey Mantle, or that he had the skill set that he could become a Mickey Mantle type. I just thought the guy always looked very awkward swinging a baseball bat. He never looked like Will Clark or Ken Griffey Jr. swinging the bat from the left side. I always thought, man, for as good as he is, that's making Tony Mandrich on that team. Sure. The older I get, the more there are guys in sports that I would have never thought that I could not remember their names. Because I watch them play so many games that, and especially baseball players, because of there being so many baseball games. Who is the former right fielder for the San Francisco Giants that won the World Series with the team that had I can't even think of the catcher's name, the really good catcher they had when they won the World Series in 2010, 12, and 14. Somebody give me his name. Giants catcher and Giants right fielder. Oh, my word. But anyway, the right fielder was really awkward. Like, I couldn't believe that somebody was this good at baseball, Major League Baseball, and was a 300 hitter with power, and he looked like he couldn't swing the bat. You guys are killing me. Yes, Buster Posey. Thank you. Buster Posey. Oh my word. I give up. I probably should not do this anymore. If you would have asked me 10 years ago, will I ever forget the name Buster Posey? I would say, of course not. And now I also cannot think of the right fielder's name. Who was the right fielder for the Giants that had such the awkward, he would choke up and he hit for power, but it wasn't a home run hitter. Oh, my word. I got to look him up. I'm going to go nuts when I see his name. Because again, this is going to be a name that I would have said, I will never forget this guy. Are you kidding me? I'm talking about Hunter Pence. Goodness gracious. Hunter Pence. Wow. That's awful. No. You guys aren't listening to the years I'm throwing out. People are saying Brett Butler. No. That was years before. Brett Butler was with the Giants in the 1989 World Series. I'm talking about 2010, 12, 14. Yes, Hunter Pence. I'm going to have to tell as soon as I get done here, I am texting my son and letting him know I could not think of Buster Posey and Hunter Pence. I used to know their statistics every year, let alone their names. Buster Posey, I remember, won an MVP in 2012? I used to know all the MVPs in Major League Baseball as well. All right. We are past our time here at the Voice of College Football, and we do appreciate you all being here. So Tuesday is Tuesday, so that means the Iowa show at 5 p.m. Eastern, the Big Ten Live show at 6, and then we will see after that, certainly the big show here at 10 p.m. Eastern time, which reminds me of a programming note. You may want to look into this, by the way. This is a tremendous cause. Speaking of college football, there's a college football connection there. But next Monday, we will not be here. We are going to be on, but we will not be here. We'll be on SG1 Sports. SG1 Sports at the Voice of College Football. There is a possible method to the madness. So I'll have the link here. You guys will be able to follow me. But next Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern time, we will be at SG1 Sports at the Voice of College Football. Same show, same exact deal. Will look exactly the same. All of that. And do appreciate you all being here. See you on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern time for the Iowa show with Corey Brada.